الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah, tonight we will recite Surah Al-An'am, Surah number 6, from the beginning of the surah till the end. So the completion of Surah Al-An'am today, inshallah. Surah Al-An'am is primarily based on the theme of Tawheed and Shirk. So the oneness of Allah and the dangers of associating with Allah. And it's so beautiful the way that it describes and introduces Allah Azza wa Jal. If someone is interested in knowing who is Allah, an introduction to Allah, Surah Al-An'am is the perfect introduction to that. And obviously it is a very lengthy surah. It spans a juz and a few pages. But like I mentioned yesterday, the Quran uses different rhetorical devices, which is a fancy term for different ways to explain the theory. Of them, for example, are parables, which we'll take in the coming nights, examples that the Quran gives. Of them are stories. And here in this surah, we'll find Ibrahim alayhi salam, a detailed story mentioned about him and his argument with his father and his people. Now, the discussion that's mentioned here, and this is one of the unique features of the Quran, it mentions a story in one place, and then it mentions a different part of that story elsewhere. So the discussions happening here, you won't find it anywhere else. The overall debate or back and forth, his discussion with his father is there. But this part of the discussion is only here. And this is his logical attempt at showing his people how the primary qualities, the sifat of Allah, of God, have to be that they don't change. So he argues and he gives them examples of the moon, then he goes to the stars and the sun, showing to them that something that changes or loses its form that it's in, that cannot be God. God does not change. God does not lose or diminish his attributes. And after a long back and forth, which is it's full of beautiful logic used to dismantle their shirk, after all of that, they respond to Ibrahim alayhi salam with وَحَاجَّهُ قَوْمُهُ قَالَ أَتُحَاجُّونِي فِي اللَّهِ وَقَدْ هَدَانِ وَلَا أَخَافُ مَا تُشْرِكُونَ بِهِ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ رَبِّي شَيْئًا. They threatened him and they said that, look, our gods that you are indirectly cursing, because you're calling to Tawheed, oneness of Allah, we have all these mini gods. All of these mini gods will come and haunt you. And obviously these mini gods, they have a presence physically in front of you. And Ibrahim alayhi salam is trying to tell them that, look, if it's there in front of you, it's not God. This thing that you've made with your hand, this thing that you can see, that you pass by and you're scared of, how can this thing be God? Where literally you can take it with you. You can put it in your pocket. You can do whatever you want to it. So God has to be so powerful that you cannot control it. You cannot encompass it. You cannot pick it up. You cannot break it. You cannot eat it, as it comes in the famous hadith of a companion who came and he told the Messenger of Allah ﷺ his story, and his idol was made of dates. But that's what shirk does. It makes a person so far away from logic and pure thinking that it can lead a person down this path. So they're threatening Ibrahim alayhi salam and saying, look, you're going to be cursed. You are going to find it very difficult. And Ibrahim alayhi salam is saying, I don't care about any of that. Because when I have freed myself from shirk, I have freed myself from every fear and khawf. I only fear one thing, and that's Allah. If someone is going to curse me or punish me, it's Allah. And that'll be on the Day of Judgment. And then later on, he actually says, he words it differently, and he says, and this is ayah number 70 onwards, by the way, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمُ الْأَمْنُ. The people that believe, and they do not mix up their faith with injustice. Injustice here meaning shirk, because the greatest injustice, إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ, as Luqman told his son, the greatest dhulm that you can do is assign a partner for Allah. These people who are free from that, meaning a person who affirms the oneness of Allah, لَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمُ الْأَمْنُ. These people are blessed with safety and amn. This safety it obviously is referring to the Day of Judgment. You're saved from the punishment. But it's not just that. There's also another very subtle safety that if we think, when we see videos, we see people of different faiths, of different types of shirk that they practice, you can see how the human being can go into superstition, fortune telling, charms. You're afraid of certain animals. You're afraid of certain days. You're afraid of if a certain color shows in front of you. And people who are otherwise very smart and successful people, they fall into such silly things and they make their decisions and they fall in front of people who are teaching them these types of things. This same human mind can fall and succumb to that. That's what shirk can do. So charms and chants and omens and all of these types of things, which are a form of shirk, they can be major shirk and take you out of the fold of Islam, or they could be more subtle and minor forms of shirk, like different types of superstition that a person might feel. All of that, what it does is it takes a person out of this out of this peace. But when you truly accept and you're truly a person who believes in Tawheed, you free yourself from all of that. You know, only Allah can harm me, and only Allah is the one that can reward me. So guess what? The only way I can be harmed is if I break Allah's covenant, which He has told me so. It's very clear and simple. It's not that I saw this color or this cat crossed my car, or I saw this dog or the dog barked at this time. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's very simple. He gave a book and He said, do this and you earn my pleasure. And don't do this, because if you do that, you earn my wrath. And so it gives a person this clear direction and this safety of both peace in a person's heart and mind when a person dedicates himself to the oneness of Allah Azza wa Jal. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us from those that are always pure in our tawheed for Him. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.